And it was my freshman year that I met Corey. And he was a person who mirrored me in endless ways. He was that one friend that we can probably all think of, the best friend. And Corey was the first person at our table to say, "That sounds like gunshots." And we all immediately dismissed it. You see, in 1999, there was no real frame of reference for what high-powered gunfire would even sound like in the hallways of a high school. And it was just a few moments after Corey said that a teacher ran through the same doors that we had just entered, yelling for everybody to get under the tables, saying that somebody had a gun. And so Corey and I got under a table with two students who we didn't know, and we waited. And it was just a few minutes after that the perpetrators entered those same doors and went methodically from section to section, coming to ours last. And from the moment that I knew that what was happening that day was real, I completely disassociated. You see, I've always been able to recall everything that happened that day, step by step. I've never blocked any of it out. But it was almost like I was watching it on television. I wasn't present in my own body. And I think that when you are in such imminent danger, and on that day I had accepted that I was likely going to die, your body will do whatever it can to keep you safe. And for me, that was taking my consciousness out of it. The perpetrators approached our table last and each fired multiple shots. I was hit twice and Corey was killed instantly, right in front of me. And I laid there playing dead, and shortly after that the perpetrators left the library and I stumbled out the back door to a barrage of police cars. The hardest memory for me to recall, and it's still the hardest one for me to talk about today, is the image of my father jumping over a fence to be able to get to me. And the reason why I think I have such a profound emotional attachment to that image in my mind is that was the moment that I snapped back into my own body, that I came back to being present.
Almost immediately, I started medicating the underlying emotional symptoms of my pain with medications that were prescribed for my physical pain. And that led to a pretty debilitating addiction that spanned throughout my 20s. And then finally, when I found the courage to change everything about my life and actually address that trauma that I'd been running from and medicating for so long, I really started to explore the reasons why people turn to substance abuse as a result of trauma. I went back to school to study addiction, and I really then devoted my life to this work. Back, 10, 20 years ago, we used to think, some people got addicted, some people didn't, and it was your genetics that determined. And now we know that that is simply untrue. I think that we live in a culture today that is ill-equipped to address emotional pain in a healthy fashion. And emotional pain and trauma doesn't have to look like a tragedy like Columbine or 9/11. We're all carrying that with us. And now today, we have more medicators than ever before in history. And it doesn't have to be specific to drugs or alcohol. Literally everything in our lives today is designed to be addictive. And in order for it to be addictive, it has to be all-encompassing. It has to allow us to detach, to disconnect, to isolate. And it is tearing us away from authentic human connection. And I believe it's that authentic human connection that is essential for us to be emotionally healthy. I've been really inspired in the visits that I've made to Kentucky in seeing the grassroots organizing of people coming together to say, we see these trends happening and we want to do something about it. And that's really where it starts. Where I've seen communities be most effective is with parents speaking up, with educators speaking up and saying, you know what, it's time for us to do things differently, and we want to be the catalyst for the paradigm shift to get that done. We say in recovery, we keep what we have by giving it away. And anytime I can inspire change in somebody's life, that means that there's a real need for the work that I'm doing. And that is incredibly rewarding, and it's valuable to me as a person in long-term recovery.